Hey, Brandon Allen here at Allen Music in downtown Paducah, Kentucky. And today, joining us for our very important musician series is Miss Cheryl Yates. And so I asked her to come and do this video interview with us today, just to share a little bit of her testimony about her music life. And she's been so very important to us here at Allen Music because I've known her since I was a kid, and she's been coming here to Allen Music, and so I've kind of grown up knowing Cheryl. She's been a teacher in the community for so many years, a professional player in the community for so many years, and now I have the honor and pleasure of getting to lead worship with her at our church, at Faith Center Church. And so one of the first times we got to play together, actually, we were doing a song that I had done many times by myself, and then she was going to do the lead part, and she kicked off the intro, and I was like, who's playing the CD? Because it sounded exactly like the CD. So she's very impressively precise with her play style, and super educated with everything she does. So I just wanted to honor her today and just introduce her to you guys, and have her share a little bit of her music life with you. So the mic is yours. What got you started? What was your inspiration? Like when as a kid, or at what point did you say, I want to play music, that's my life, that's my career?
Well, I always tell, first of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I put myself in the very important musician category, but thank you. That's an honor.
God exalts the humble.
But yeah, you know, my first memories, I always tell everybody, was reaching up to touch my dad's guitar strings. And
wow.
So I got my first guitar when I was 2.5.
Wow.
I obviously don't really remember anything other than my sister fell out of the top bunk one night and landed on it, and I can remember it waking everybody up in the house. And I'm like, my guitar, my guitar, my guitar. And my mom's like, what about your sister? And my sister's like, what about me? And I'm like, my guitar. And it's been that way ever since. Just my guitar.
Right.
My guitar. No.
That's funny.
I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, so they got me that guitar. By first grade, I was picking out melodies and even writing little songs.
Wow.
You know, I had a cat who slept on a mat. He went in the road. I heard a splat. Now he's flat. You know, just stupid stuff. You know.
And she's gonna perform that for us a little later.
And I'll perform. No, but yeah, you know, I just always enjoyed playing. I loved rhymes. I love funny stuff. So I would write funny songs and just you know, entertain my family. And I think I really liked the feedback that I got from that. You know, I could tell, like, it was important. It seemed important to people to laugh, or they want to hear that. You know, it just like takes the load off. And something felt good to me about that. Like, you know, a lot of times music is a lot of pride and competition, and you know what I mean. And I'm like, and trust me, I've been out there in it for so many years. I'm not saying I've never had any, you know, problems that I've needed to get fixed. Right. I'm just saying, I think early on, and where I'm at right now, it's just that same mindset of music should be a blessing. Yeah. And put a smile on people's faces. Put a smile on people's face. Yeah. And I believe that God made it for, you know, multiple purposes. And, and so I just enjoyed playing. And so that's kind of how I started. I mean, I got into rock bands when I moved to the Detroit area. I was born here, moved to the Detroit area when I was about 14. Started playing in rock bands, started gigging and playing in bars with a fake ID when I was 16. I was out on my own when I was 16. I had moved out and did a lot of wild and crazy stuff up in Detroit playing. And then I moved to Dallas, and then I was introduced there to the music of Steve Urquiaga and Phil Keaggy. I had never heard that before. I was in a Christian bookstore, and I wasn't always Christian. I had become a recent Christian at that time. I went to the Christian bookstore and I heard this beautiful guitar music. I'm like, what am I listening to? Yeah. Now I couldn't have told you either one of their names at that time. I just liked the music. Yeah. So I listened to that, and then a friend of mine was studying classical guitar in college, and so he showed me a few little pieces and studies and stuff. And I started getting to that and doing more and more fingerstyle. My dad played fingerstyle guitar, and he could never keep a pick. So he'd use a matchbook. He did a lot of fingerstyle, but he'd just take a matchbook, fold it over, and use that. So I would just, I couldn't keep a pick either. You know? And so I would just play with my fingers or try the matchbook, but now that would get worn out after about, 10 strums.
Right.
So. But yeah, so when I moved back, I guess I was probably about 22, and I moved back to the Detroit area, and I just sort of added to the things that I did by being a band leader, doing, I did some Christian contemporary music. I played with some artists, some great people. Lord bless me, opened some doors. I played with Grammy-winning pianist, played with Mike Atkins, was a famous, CCM artist back then, and played bass with him and with Randy, the other guy, and then played, like I said, did some band leading, did choir directing for a while, and just did a lot of things there. I did, after my dad passed away in 91, I did start listening to a bunch of his old recordings. He would do those reel-to-reel recordings and cassettes. Now I couldn't find the reel-to-reels, but he had these cassettes. So I would listen to those, and it just sort of ignited me, he was doing thumb style. I mean, I was doing all kind of, whatever finger style and stuff, and I never really followed Phil Kagi. I mentioned him, but I just went down. I never really followed him. I was playing just all kind of various stuff, from jazz to to heavy rock to all kind of crazy stuff. But even the rock, think about whatever neoclassical metal type stuff. My favorite part would be the classical introduction, and so if I'd get in bands, nobody could play it. They could all pound out the power chords and be like, "Get that intro," doing the classical stuff. But anyway, after my dad passed, I got more interested in the thumb style and started playing a lot of the things I thought he wrote, like Wildwood Flower and all these songs. I mean, I just grew up hearing him play them,
Cheryl's dad might have written Wildwood Flower.
So, and then I started just playing around in the Detroit area, and, I did meet someone who sang, and then we moved to Nashville, and I had set up a studio. It was outside of Nashville, on Highway 12, leading that way, but I had set up a studio there, and I did a lot of recording, and then we played and did things, and it was interesting that what we ended up doing a lot was coming here, because I don't know if you remember at the time, this would have probably been in the late 90s, they had started doing the after dinner thing, but it was all music. It wasn't, bring a jam box and do tracks. I mean, it was live music, and there was only a few bands, so they would announce this on the radio that we're coming from Nashville, which was funny because I was from here.
Right.
And then we were coming here, on the weekends, and we'd play down at the gazebo and try to drum things up. And then it started getting pretty big, and by the time I guess it started really getting big, I just kind of had pulled away from that. Was doing some other stuff, and got plugged back into, I kind of got away from the Lord for a while when I was out doing a lot of that, for sure. And so I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna just be playing in bars all the time and doing crazy stuff, and not just that, just thinking about me, what can I do with music, and how can I promote me, because that's never fulfilling. And so I just really got tired of that life, and I was like, God, I gotta have you back, and whatever your plan is. And I literally, I've only told a handful of people that I literally locked up thousands of dollars of gear. If you knew how many guitars, how many amps, all the recording studio equipment, locked it up into a storage facility. I think I left out a guitar and an amp just because I would go around and play sometimes, because I do so much solo guitar. But all the other stuff that I was doing, I was just like, I'm not going to do anything with it. It took several people to tell me, doing, music isn't the problem. Maybe what you were doing with it was the problem. And so, it took a long time for me to kind of reset my mind. I mean, I would hear a certain song and boom, in my mind, I'm, back in the bar or carrying on like a crazy person. And I'm not putting anybody down that might go listen to music at the bar. I'm not doing that at all. I'm saying what I was doing
it's your
was
journey.
Crazy. What I was doing was nuts. And the things I was doing, because I had always felt, like the Lord had something that He wanted me to zero in on with music, and I never did. I'm like, no thanks, see you later.
Well, that's interesting too, because I mean, music means something different for everybody.
Right.
You know, whether they listen to it or whether they play it. Like you said, you'd hear a song and a memory would spark.
Right,
you know,
right.
and that takes you back to somewhere or brings you to somewhere. So that's one of the cool things. I guess that can be a pro and a con. You know,
Yeah.
but so you tell me, what year was it when your dad passed?
91, December
Okay.
91.
And I think you told me, is this your dad's?
This is my dad's guitar.
So he left this to you, and
Yeah.
so you've had it since '91, and he had it for how long?
Wow, I really don't know. I know he traded my uncle either an air conditioner or a boat for it.
No way.
Yeah, and what's interesting was that when he got it, my dad got it, it wasn't I mean, this is an original 1962 Gretsch Nashville, so it's the real deal.
Yeah, Chet Atkins.
Yeah, and
model.
It's amazing. But he had got it, and somebody was going to try to refret it, and I think they just gave up on the project. So that's why he just, had that smaller trade for it, even though it's a collectible guitar.
Yeah.
And he was expert craftsman, my dad. So he did everything and all that. But I had been playing it for so long, whoever had clipped the fret wires, and I don't think it was my dad, they had clipped them too short.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was why I had brought it to you guys, and your luthier, he set it up for me and refret that, and
so
it feels pretty good.
We got the honor to get to work on this guitar, and that was super fun. And thank you for trusting us with such a cherished
with my money maker.
Right,
I call this the money maker because I've probably made more money playing this loud than all my other guitars put together. I mean, it was the thing for a while. Everybody knew me as the girl with the orange guitar. But since that's my least favorite color, I had to get different guitars to get away from that image.
So if you would play us something that's like, I guess, appropriate to that guitar, in that when you think of a Chet Atkins Nashville.
Oh, okay. So
model,
like something my dad would have played.
Yeah, maybe something from the past.
Yeah.
You know?
That's how my dad would play.
Yeah. So what's the name of that one?
I'm a Pilgrim by Merle Travis.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm a Pilgrim, Earl Travis.
Yeah.
And you're playing through this, I think Ted said this was a vintage early 70s twin reverb. So I know you've always loved the tube Fender sound.
Well, I like the deluxe reverb. I chose this to play because I thought it sounded, pretty inviting when I got the settings.
And it pairs well, I guess, with the Gretsch.
Yeah, and the reverb on it is actually, let me turn this reverb off. The reverb on this thing actually is really great. I mean, I like it a lot. It's good sound.
Right, yeah.
So the amp, kind of can give you that punch, So I do like that.
Yeah. Seth loves that style. He likes to do that stuff on the
Okay.
piano too.
Okay.
So he loves jazz,
Cool.
and so have to pair you guys together and do like a jazz off, back and forth sometime. Guitar.
Let me know.
Yeah, guitar to piano. So then, I mean, that brings us up to like, when did you start teaching lessons?
Well, I moved to Paducah in '98. I believe it was the summer of '98.
The year that Ashley was born.
Yeah, and I mean, I always did music, but I mean, when I got to, I guess it was about 2003, and I paint murals and I did a lot of artwork and stuff when I first moved here.
Okay.
I did that too because I was a paramedic. I was a licensed paramedic for several years, and I worked like in Tennessee. You could work 24-hour shift and then have a couple of days off, and that was kind of how I rolled and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
so if one of your bandmates decides to do a stage dive in crowd surf and injures themselves, you can you could
Right.
take care of them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I dropped the gig bag and pick up the other bag and run out there. So, no, but yeah, so I did that for a while. When I moved to Paducah, you know, at the time they didn't have reciprocity between all the medics and stuff in the different states. So I just worked on my other thing that I always did, which was art. So I did art and music and stuff. And then I really felt in 2003, you know, like I was going to be doing something different. I just kind of had this impression. And then I walked into Chapman Music, and Lone Oak and Herb Chapman was there, and there was I saw a guitar actually from across the street. So I walked across the street and get that guitar down and was playing it. And he was like, "You teach?" And I'm like, "Well, I have." And he was like, "Could you teach?" Like, and I was like, "Well, I guess, you know." And so I gave him my number, but it probably was a couple months before we really hooked up. And then, I stayed there for quite a while. I love people, and I love the interaction and the communication with them. You could be having the worst day, and somebody come in and you just start playing music, and you're just on top of the world. And whether it's an adult or it's a kid or whatever. Yeah. And my youngest student, people always ask. I taught multiple instruments, but my youngest student was probably a 4-year-old drummer, and my oldest student was a 78-year-old gentleman that wanted to learn to play bass just because they needed a bass player at church.
Wow.
Well, that guy accomplished his goal. He
awesome.
worked at it.
That's great.
So that was kind of cool. But I did that for quite a while, and then might as well mention the car accident because it comes up a lot. In 2018, I was hit at high speed on Park Avenue, and the only memory I really have of the accident was just being in the air. I had my seatbelt on, but it hit me so hard, I still went off the seat, but I didn't go through the windshield, thankfully. But propelling forward, so much, because I was hit kind of on the corner, like this would be the trunk and this would be the driver's side. It was like right in there at high speed, so it threw me sort of this way. The car's this way, it threw me this way. So I'm like going this way. Well, took my rotator cuff. He said pretty much off the bone. Took it off the bone. It pulled all the nerves, damaged nerves. I had surgeries in my hand, in my elbow, and two in the shoulder, and besides other injuries like my hip, my side, a hernia, my neck, just other things. The bottom of my foot's still numb. So, I'm just pointing that out in the sense of what I do now is different than what I used to do before the accident. I have no complaints. I'm so thankful to play, and I feel super blessed. But I do deal with pain. I deal with the effects of the injury. My hand has got certain things. If you watch me play, you probably won't notice, but I would know I'm refingering something different, or I can't play that guitar for very long because the action's not just super low with like nines on the strings.
How long was your recovery process before you could play again?
I would say, it was probably a year before I could play before they did the surgery. There was a 6-week period before they scheduled anything, because I kept telling them, man, something's wrong with the shoulder. They knew some of the other stuff, obviously they could tell, and I was in physical therapy, and every time I'd go, they'd make me do stuff. I'm like, I can't, you don't understand, it won't. They finally did an MRI, and they're like, oh yeah, your rotator cuff's off the bottom. I've been telling you.
Wow.
But anyway, so you said how long? It's sort of, that pushed it out. I think it could have been a quicker process. It was probably a year from the time of the accident till I was like playing. That first 6 weeks I could play some, but I'd have terrible nerve pain in my hand, and I would just have to stop in the middle of it. And then, so the recovery, it was a year and a half before the surgeon released me to work.
Wow.
And then, I started teaching on my own after that, set up my own studio. And then I did that up until probably this spring, where I've gotten so busy with other projects, because I do session stuff and arranging for people. And
you do studio session work for lots of different people and set in with them for their albums. And then and you do your own albums, right?
Right. So I do arranging for people, which I love. And sometimes if you're the arranger, you might be the studio guitarist or whatever on projects like that. But I love hearing other people's melodies and then just, harmonizing and, laying out stuff, whether it's for a band
music
or
production.
for just the guitar. Yeah, I do production, so.
That's cool. Yeah, so that's a neat thing. If you ever have a song that you're stumped with and you've started it and can't finish it, then Cheryl could help you with that, obviously. Now you obviously play many different instruments, many different styles. I was hoping you'd play us a little something on the acoustic too.
Oh, okay, sure.
If you don't care.
Oh,
So we just happen to have a 0028 Martin. Of course, those are fresh, brand new strings, so they might have stretched on you a little bit, but we can pause for tuning as needed.
Yeah, so like I was saying about my hand, like this is a great guitar, and the neck's amazing, and the string and everything, but I just have issues. So like me, I would be like filing that down, I'd be doing all kind of crazy stuff just to get to where I don't have to push, because that's one of the issues. The thumb muscle's wasted, and this, so it's just.
Yeah, because when you're playing, you're typically playing for hour, 2 hours type session, 3 hour session normally, and that's a huge factor when the guitar's not comfortable. So right, so that shows.
And not just that, you won't hear the notes. They're not gonna, especially on acoustic. If I have to stop and push, all the moments passed.
Right. Yeah.
I need to just have it flow out and sound clean.
Yeah. So perfect example of why a setup is so important for your guitar. And typically the technicians here at the music shop at Allen Music would say, once every year, once every 6 months, depending on how often you play, it's such a valuable thing, kind of like an oil change for your car, right? Or tire, or rotating the tires.
Yeah, at the least.
It's something that needs to be done to make the guitar easy, those strings easy to press. And so we did that for Cheryl on this Martin here before we planned this interview, so we did a setup, on this guitar. And so what do you got for us acoustic? What are you gonna play?
Well, I will say this before I even play. You guys do a great job of keeping my stuff in great shape for me.
Thanks.
So, you guys have done a lot of setups, a lot of repairs on my amps, on my gear, and so, I'll bring stuff in before I do something, and you guys always hook me up.
Well, we're honored. It's fun to get to work with you, especially somebody who knows their stuff like you do. So and trust us to get to do the work. So.
Well, I'm not sure what you want to hear, but I could play you something that'll be probably.
Do you want to play an original, something like you wrote?
Yeah, I'll play a little song that I wrote last year. I've recorded it already, and the single will probably be released in 2023.
Oh, that's exciting.
Other stuff coming out.
Okay.
In September this year, and following that, this will probably be 2023. But
so when you release a song, where can we go and buy it or download it or?
It'll be on all the streaming platforms,
okay.
like Fly, that was in the Fingerstyle Guitar Journal summer edition last year.
Yeah.
They did an article, interview, and they did the Bill Pyburn, awesome. You might have to cut that too. I can't say his name. but yeah, Bill Pyburn, an awesome arranger in Nashville that does the Fingerstyle Guitar Journal. He was very cordial, inviting me to put that song into the journal. So they 5 pages of sheet music and then the article and stuff. Yeah, so feel really blessed to have done that.
Yeah.
So the actual single to that song will be released on all the streaming platforms on September 9th.
Okay.
So that'll be just 2 or 3 weeks away.
Yeah, that's exciting. Weeks. And what's the name of it? What's the title?
Fly.
Fly. Okay.
Yeah, Fly.
And if we want to see more of your music, is it like CherylYatesMusic.com? Like, what's your?
Yeah, I do have a website, and that is just Cheryl Yates Guitar.
Okay.
And then CherylYatesGuitar.com, and then my Facebook page is also Cheryl Yates Guitar.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there's several Cheryl Yateses out there, so I add the guitar, and that kind of straightens it out.
The one that's going to be released in 2023, what's that one called?
Well, this one's called Sleepy Little El Dorado. And,
okay.
And I wrote this. I was talking on the phone to my cousin, who. Gene Boyer, he's actually a famous painter. I don't know, American painter, yeah. But he's from El Dorado, and so were my grandparents. And, and he was just talking about how nothing changed there in little sleepy little El Dorado. And man, as soon as he said that, I just stopped and wrote down that title. Like, that's a song.
Yeah.
And the first time I picked up my guitar, this just sort of fell out, like,
Really?
So I'll just play this.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And this is a little different, it's not too rocky or jazzy, but it's for El Dorado. So.
That was absolutely beautiful. And so, what was the name of that again?
Sleepy Little El Dorado.
Sleepy Little El Dorado. And so that is the one that's going to be released
probably in 2023.
In 2023. So keep an eye. So Fly is going to be released September 9th, and Sleepy Little El Dorado will be like Q1 of 2023. So, all right. Well, thanks for sharing an original with us. And so now I thought to close things out. The season that you're in now in life, we're leading worship together at Faith Center. Besides obviously studio work and songwriting and music production, would it be cool if we played a song together?
God, you are the most beautiful.
you're wonderful, yeah. You are wonderful, you are wonderful. Oh God, there is no one more wonderful. You are wonderful, God, you are the most wonderful. Sing glorious, you are glorious, you are glorious. Oh God, there is no one more glorious. You are glorious, God, you are the most glorious. I delight in myself, I delight myself in you, in the glory of your presence. I'm overwhelmed by you, and God, I run into your arms, unashamed because of your mercy. I'm overwhelmed by you. I'm overwhelmed by you. And thank you so much to Cheryl Yates for joining us for this just special interview. I just wanted to share, like I said, have her share her testimony with the community, because she's been such an important part of the community for all of her life. And so thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So God bless you all. Have a great day. Come and see us at Allen Music. Good night.